It's your great character today.
Hi, everybody, and welcome back to the Great Character Podcast with me, Harry Bamforth, Nathan Edwards, and Matthew Wiley. And today we have a special guest. I say special, but he's from our course. It's our mate, Lewis Sweeney. Big interest in UFC, MMA, which is one of the main things we'll talk about today. So just say hello, Lewis.
Hey, awesome, Lewis. Thanks for having me on.
No, it's good. It's first time having a guest. See the dynamic. You're going to be here. He's going to be here for the whole duration of the podcast. We'll talk about lots of other things, but he's on our course. He knows, he's just like us, so he's one of the family now. But what we're going to talk about today is one of the big stories from the weekends: McGregor versus Poirier, or Poirier, however you say it. How he was knocked out for the first time ever. We're going to go through a lot of that. It's going to be the majority of this podcast today. Hopefully don't go too long like the previous episodes. We're also going to talk about the breaking news today, Lampard being sacked. This one's close to my heart, Liverpool's crisis and what they do now after this weekend's loss to Manchester United. And finally, with Matt's expertise, we're going to talk about the NFL and the Super Bowl at the end of that. So stay tuned. We've got lots to talk about today. And I just want to pose a question at the start to Lewis, the guest. Where does McGregor go from here after the loss at the weekend in Abu Dhabi to Dustin Poirier?
I mean, the best thing you can do is get a few fights under his belt, come back better than ever. But me personally, and we've said off camera, I don't think he's going to come back. So I think he's done for him. You
think he's done?
Yeah. But I'm not too sure if he has the motivation to do it anymore after a big loss like that. But we'll see. I hope he does.
I've seen a lot of that about people think he's going to stop, whether his heart's in it. But I don't truly think that's the case. I think at the end of his interview, he truly looked heartbroken. He looked gutted. He wouldn't be fighting or putting himself in these situations if he didn't love the sport. He's done so much for MMA. I think he's got so much money. He doesn't have to fight, but I think he truly wants to. And now that loss has made him realize how much work he's got to do. I think he wants to come back better than ever. I truly believe that from his reaction and how he took it like a man, but how sunken he looked, how sad, broken. He was really upset. I think that's going to be some fuel now to set his season alight. And he might have to take smaller fights that might not earn him as much money. But I think if he's going to get to the top again, he has to do that because that's the way he got there before. He's had lots of breaks. If he stops and then decides in a year and a half he's going to come back, it's going to be the exact same result. I think a trilogy fight will happen at the end of the year. Poirier will probably be champion by then. But I think McGregor's got lots of opportunities. He just needs to stay strong after that loss.
He definitely handled it the best way he possibly could. I think it's the best I've seen a fighter deal with defeat. He was very humble about it, wasn't he? Bit of a shark tank at 155 now, so it depends. It's for him.
I think he always takes losses well. I think what's different now is that before the fight, he's not got as much fighting talk. But I still believed him when he said, "I'll knock him out in 60 seconds," stuff like that. And he was dropping bombs in that first round. But Poirier he ate them. And I think after the first round, you go into the second, and the leg kicks. Eventually, it was the leg kicks that won it for him. If they stood standing up, eventually he stopped his movement. He stopped his. Conor's very free flowing in the octagon, so he stopped that within the second round. So I think that was what ultimately ended in the knockout. But I think Conor, he takes it well. This is a very similar situation to Nate Diaz, and people thought he was going to win. It's different in the fact that it was a quick turnover last time. He was meant to fight Rafael dos Anjos and stuff, but it's a similar situation. A shock loss. He's taken it well, and I think he'll come back and try and beat him. But he's not as highly regarded now as he was then. I don't think. He can't come straight back and fight Poirier. He has to fight other people first. That's the difference. But then he will fight Poirier again.
Do you think he comes straight back and headlines a pay-per-view?
Not straight away, but I think within 2 fights he can. If he wins his next one, say he fights, I wouldn't put him against Chandler because Chandler surprised me. Completely surprised me. I'd put. Who would you put him against though? Could you put him against Ferguson, or is
I liked how you mentioned the Sanjos. He's back at 155 now.
Yeah.
You know, 2015 it was cancelled. Why not? If not,
Nate Diaz number 3. You mentioned that.
Possibly the trilogy. I think that's the one.
That would be a pay-per-view though. If that was a trilogy, then the next fight, Diaz, that would be a headlining pay-per-view. It sells so much. But Nate Diaz has been out for ages, so surely McGregor, now with more fight experience under his belt, training properly, should beat him. But then, who knows anymore? Who truly knows?
Diaz put his name back in the mix yesterday, just calling everyone out. So maybe Dana White did say that he's got a fight lined up for him actually. So
I just hope it's not against Jake Paul.
Let's see. Hopefully not.
Either of them.
Nothing goes.
Obviously, Nathan and Matt, you're not biggest fans of MMA, but what's your thoughts on? Obviously, McGregor's a big star, so you guys know him. What's your thoughts on where, from an outside view, looking in, he's lost 2 out of his last 3, only fought 3 times in the last 3 years. Where do you think McGregor could go from here, from the outside looking in?
I just don't think his ego could let him leave on a loss, could it? Like, especially that sort of loss. I think he has to fight again, and I think from a neutral or whatever, I do think a third fight against Poirier would be quite interesting. Like not right now, later on, after a couple more fights.
I think MMA needs him eventually. And they need the old Conor, the swagger, the confidence, the fighting talk that sells, because he truly believes in himself. Like, he really does. He's somebody that will back himself to the hills. I mean, you can see that he's fought Floyd Mayweather. He wants to fight Pacquiao. And he makes people believe he's going to win. He's rarely ever the underdog. And even when he fought Mayweather, the betting odds weren't that much against him. That is in... I just think if he gets back to his best, maybe even for a bit more trash talking, nothing to the levels of Khabib. I'm talking like the levels of Nate Diaz when he was fighting in that time. Obviously, he's matured now. He's got children. He's got a family. So I think that might be the reason he's changed his tune a bit. I don't want anything of this whole Khabib, the prejudice he was doing then. That wasn't very good. That wasn't good at all. But I do want the fighting talk. The old Conor, it gives him an edge. He needs
to ditch the whole thank you and the mental warfare winning fights before they even started. So I agree.
I don't think the mental games, because he's not playing mental games anymore. I think Poirier, one of the reasons he won the first fight was he got so much in Poirier's head that Poirier, I can't say his name right, he completely lost it. He lost his rag, and McGregor was in his head before they'd even got in that octagon. And he was like that with Eddie Alvarez. Didn't do that Nate Diaz, but that's just because Nate Diaz does not give a fuck. Sorry for the swear words, so we might have to beat that. But no, so I just think he gets in people's heads. He didn't get in Poirier's head this time because he wasn't trying to. And with Donald Cerrone, it was a bit different. I don't know. He looked a better fighter then, but Poirier's levels above Cerrone, even though Cerrone's a legend of the game. He is levels above. But yeah, it's just, what's his legacy now after, like I said, losing 2 in 3? He's been away a long time, but he wants to fight more. He's finishing up. What is his legacy? Where does he go from here in that sense? Has he lost a bit of his legacy in the fact that he's now, if he stopped a bit earlier, he hasn't got these losses. He hasn't got this sad end to it. What do you think? How's it affected that?
On the night he lost, I saw someone say that he's the new Mike Tyson. He was a great fighter before, but now he just sells tickets on memories and spoken mirrors, which I think you can sort of agree with. He hasn't been at his best for a while. The Cerrone fight was just handing McGregor a win basically, because I don't think Cerrone had a chance in that. So we might look back at him as a former great, but fell off with fame and inactivity, distractions.
I guess the problem is, though, I hope he proves us all wrong. He could prove us all wrong, come back, win 3, and then win the title again. And I think he should finish on that if he does that. I think he needs to stay at lightweight and carry on. But I don't think anyone can doubt what he's done for the fight game he's molded this MMA into this beast it is now. We were talking about earlier in our lecture, MMA versus boxing. I've been watching loads of videos on it, loads of debates on it, and how MMA is eating up boxing. And I think he's one of the big reasons for that. I mean, Daniel Cormier, first person to ever get the 2 belts. And Daniel Cormier said that's one of the he broke that mold for other people to follow. Cormier wouldn't have done that if it wasn't for McGregor going for it first. And he's done so much for it. He's brought these big pay-per-view. He's brought these big characters. Everyone wants to be McGregor. Covington, whatever. Colby Covington wants to be him. You got Kevin Lee from a few years ago faking the way like McGregor. Jake Paul has molded everything he's doing right now against McGregor on McGregor. So he has completely changed the fight game, in my opinion. I think that is his legacy. The double champ, the brutal knockout artist. He's still there and he's still inside of him. He just needs to find him somewhere. 32 years old. He's running on by time, really. He's got a few years left, couple years left, and then there's no chance after that. I think if he sorts himself out this year, even after this loss, he came back in and fought someone that's active and one of the, if not, now Khabib's gone, the best in the division. So I think it's a tough ask. And I think if he's at his best, McGregor, he'd whoop Poirier. I still believe that now. I think
he'll be the favourite in the trilogy fight. He'll still be the favourite.
Yeah, he'll always be a favourite. It doesn't matter who
always,
he's the favourite. So I think his legacy will still stand in that sense of what he's done for the UFC, what he's done for MMA, how he's changed everything. In my opinion, that is. I think he will always be remembered for that. And we've always got these amazing memories of when he turns up to press conferences, the cockiness, the arrogance, late, picking up Aldo's belt, picking up Alvarez's belt, not giving 2 shits about anything. Like, we need to delete these, by the way. And just, that is him. And that was the epitome of the McGregor era from 2013-14 to 2016. He was the GOAT, or the best during that time frame, and he changed everything, and he set UFC up for very well from being like that. And I think that will be his legacy.
He's changed the way you market fights as well, I'd say. So the whole build-up, we mentioned Jake Paul. Speaking about him, I'm sure that's an interesting fight. But in the build-up to the whole YouTube boxing, the screaming, the Walmart and F. Jake Paul, that was very much based off the McGregor sort of style. So, yeah, leaves a legacy as pound for pound number 1 in his day. But
yeah, I think it's just like the fact now, this Jake Paul business, I don't really want to talk about it too much. We spoke about it recently because he's just not worth our time, in my opinion. He's never going to watch this, so he'll never know, and he won't care, will he? But, like, that should never that fight shouldn't happen. That Dylan Moran guy, go beat the absolute what's-its out of Jake Paul in his garden, but Jake Paul's too scared to do that because there's no money involved. So Jake Paul isn't worth McGregor's time. He's not worth Moran's time. If anything, with the Jake Paul McGregor's just proving he's stepping away from MMA in true.
Yeah, I think that would ruin his legacy even more.
If he doesn't fight Paul, it's pointless.
Yeah.
I think if he does that, he's showing that he's not taking MMA serious anymore, or boxing seriously. If he tries to go for these big money fights, he's had that period of his life. He did that. He doesn't need that now. He's got the money. He just needs to fight properly again. But yeah, so we talked a lot about McGregor. We've got to give some praise to Poirier. Where does he go now? What fights could he take? Should he just get the belt for that win? What should that have been for the interim title? Should it have been for the full title? Who should Poirier fight next? And will he be a champion for a long time? What do you think?
That should have been for the undisputed title. I think they've missed a big opportunity to crown a new champion. But if he doesn't fight for the title next, I think it's criminal. I reckon he fights Charles Oliveira. I think that's a good fight. On that Poirier might win as well. So,
you think Oliveira could beat him?
I think Oliveira could beat him as well. Poirier will not try to take down in that fight, that's for sure. Because as soon as he gets into his guard, triangle choke, he's done. But Oliveira can stand with people now, so It's a good opportunity for him.
Poirier said at the end, chatted towards Max Holloway and a bit about McGregor, about the stand-up, the boxing. Is he the best boxer in MMA, or is that still McGregor's title? You say?
I think McGregor's the best counter striker in MMA, but you saw the Holloway fight the other day, probably the way he mixes it up, the volume.
He wasn't even looking; he was just bobbing and weaving. He wasn't even looking.
And I think Holloway's the best boxer in the UFC, but I think Holloway's the best boxer. McGregor best all-round striker. Maybe.
Is Poirier not in that conversation? Do you not think?
Poirier's up there. You could argue he showed that he's the best boxer against McGregor, but
it wasn't. I thought
I would settle that.
The problem was if it was the way he was hitting him wasn't really, but he was just mauling him. Really, he was just hitting him. He wasn't like, I don't know. I don't want to do a demonstration here because I look like an idiot, but he wasn't actually technically boxing him. Like, he wasn't very technically. He was just hitting him. And because McGregor couldn't do anything about it, he was mauling him with loads of punches. He does that. He has these sudden bursts of energy. Like he did it against Hooker. He did it against Holloway. He's done it against people before where he just has sudden bursts and hits people very quickly. Holloway is more technical, but he's a bit like that. Holloway and Poirier show their energy and their stamina when boxing, and they can maul people. They're very fast. They just can hit, they can carry on. Whereas McGregor, technically, I think, or as a striker, as a boxer, the way he moves, everything about that, I think he's a better boxer in that sense. But he's not got the stamina to repeatedly hit someone. He's all about strong left hand combinations. Like, look against Eddie Alvarez. He never really mauled him like these boys do. Like, Hooker does the same. He mauls people when he hits people. Same with Diaz, which is a bit more like the Stockton slap style. But McGregor's the combinations against Alvarez was the best. I think Alvarez was the best he's ever been. Was when he fought Eddie Alvarez. The combinations in that as a boxer, so accurate. I think that proves that version of McGregor is definitely the best McGregor, and it's also definitely the best boxer there's been in MMA. But I think you're right with Holloway. The ducking and diving the other day, he wasn't getting touched. It was amazing.
That was the best I've ever seen him fight. That was up there with one of the best performances in a main event you'll ever see.
So if Ortega loses to Volkanovski, which I think he will, so if Volkanovski wins next one, trilogy fight has to happen between him and Holloway.
Yeah. Although what happens if you're then in another lingo? What if he goes to a close split decision, 48-47 again? I think would that be the first fight to have 4 series? I think it would.
I think that's the thing. Volkanovski hasn't convincingly beat Holloway yet.
Nah.
Not put him away and really sealed off. So it feels like they could have so many fights because Holloway's losing, but it's like the smallest of margins. I think Volkanovski deserved both fights. I think some people think Holloway did, but I think Volkanovski deserved the victory in both fights. But I think Holloway is the one to beat him.
I scored the first one for Volkanovski, second one for Holloway. I think the word robbery is branded around way too much. It weren't a robbery.
No.
Neither of them were, but good fight. That's the one I want to see. And I agree. I think Volkanovski beats Ortega as well. I don't know how, because Ortega looked good. He looked really good against Korean Zombie.
Yeah.
We'll see. That's a good fight.
So Nathan and Matt, we're speaking all these names. Have you ever heard of Volkanovski and Holloway, by the way?
I haven't heard of him, but I saw Holloway. But I saw the clips of him ducking and weaving, like not looking the other week.
Yeah,
I thought that'd be badass.
So we spoke earlier about can Conor head another pay-per-view, and now we're speaking about random names. If you were ever going to watch MMA and you don't know Volkanovski, Holloway versus Volkanovski is heading one pay-per-view, and the pay-per-view after is McGregor versus some random lightweight. Which are you more likely to watch?
Probably the McGregor one, just because it's more than just a box. The MMA, he has the whole persona outside of the fighting as well, which makes it interesting to watch.
And Matt, you don't watch MMA, but if you theoretically...
Personally, I would pick to watch the Dulux on my wall dry, yes. But I know people love it. And it would be McGregor, of course it would, because he's the name, all sports.
I do want to get into it more, though. I just don't know. You have to pay for it when I can't be asked.
Well, you didn't used to, if you had a BT subscription before, you could watch any of the... I think Lewis, which was the pay-per-view event where it started in Britain, you had to start paying box office, or has it only been McGregor events?
All the pay-per-views, basically every fight that isn't Conor or Khabib, they're normal, just on BT Sport. And then I think I started watching UFC end of 2017, and then the first pay-per-view I remember recalling before it was the McGregor Khabib one.
I didn't pay for that. That was on BT normally for me, was McGregor Khabib. But Matt, I want to ask you, what is it about MMA you don't like? You said watching paint dry. What is it? I'm
probably being really harsh, actually. I do apologise if I've said anything that it's dull. To be honest, one of the big things is that it's not dull, is it? God's sake, I'm a Test cricket fan, so I cannot make any comments about it being dull. But it's just, for me, I've not... Two blokes beating each other up does not get me going. I've got to be honest. There's a big burst of adrenaline to it, and it's thrilling. I'm sure it is, honestly. But for me personally, it doesn't.
Do you not find it exciting? Because the fast pace...
Have you watched a fight before, Matt?
Yeah, have you ever watched one?
I've watched a couple, yeah, but not a full one, just highlights and stuff. Yeah, I watched.
You need to get into it. Next time we're going to uni.
When we're back, next year, I'll have to start you on a casual fight, like a McGregor fight, because that's how everyone starts. I'm going to admit, I was a McGregor fanboy for no reason in 2017, and that's how I got into it. Was being a so-called casual fan, as all these Twitter in the nose throw around. But no, next year, Matt, we're watching a fight in the living room, and you're going to enjoy it. No, I'm
going to enjoy it. All right, I will do my best.
No, but the thing we were talking about earlier with Ian, shout out Ian Whittle, in our lecture, he was talking about MMA versus boxing, how MMA's eating up boxing in views, in money, in every aspect, and he's completely right. But then he said about MMA just being two lads brawling. Well, I think that is a slight disrespect to the sport of mixed martial arts, because it is mixed martial arts.
What skill, I'd say?
The different skill sets you have to get in that octagon. It's not just beating each other up. Wrestling, the grappling to the jiu-jitsu, then you've got the striking, but it's not just boxing on your feet. You've got to use your kicks. Like, there's so many different aspects to it. You've got to be technically good. You can't just get in the ring and scrap, because you just get destroyed instantly. So I think that was a bit disrespectful in that sense. But why do you think MMA is taking over boxing so much?
It's just more fast paced, I think, than boxing, and like something mental could happen. Like someone could just obviously boxing that can happen, but like more mental things can happen. Like someone could scorpion kick someone or something.
I think that's a good point.
Something like that.
Flying knee by Jorge Masvidal is a very good example of that.
Yeah, or something like that.
5 seconds in, or 3 seconds in, just launching himself and kneeing him straight in the temple. And
exactly.
So you'd never get that in boxing. And I find boxing interesting, but I would never I'd never buy one. I wouldn't buy a fight. I will openly admit that, because I find it interesting. People like Floyd Mayweather. It's just a bit like the reason I don't like Khabib is it is a bit boring just watching him control someone on the ground. I understand that, and that's why I think MMA there's so many different aspects to it where every fight can be completely different, and maybe I'm being naive and thinking that boxing can't be, because obviously it can, but every fight in MMA, with the amount of different skill sets each mixed martial artist has, makes it very exciting. And Khabib, yes, he controls people on the ground, but then you got the fighters that control people on the ground but can fight too and have a good scrap. Like someone like Nate Diaz is very good at jiu-jitsu but can have a proper scrap on the feet. So that is very, very intriguing. Whereas in boxing, when someone like Floyd Mayweather, it's almost like they're tapping each other in. Obviously they're not, but they're hitting each other. But it's like it's defense. It's like strategy. It's technical punches. It's all of that. And whereas MMA, you can, I guess, in the sense, have a slog, You can just get that, like, as in it's more as in 4-ounce gloves. You see a lot more blood. I'm not saying I love watching blood go everywhere, but I just find that way more exciting than boxing, personally.
Do you think it's less dangerous than boxing as well? I think it is.
Less.
Yeah, MMA.
Yeah, I guess because you're not getting hit in the head as much. Because boxing's just mainly the main part of boxing. Yeah, there's body shots, which they're hit hard. Someone like Ryan Garcia against Luke Campbell. I've seen that body shot. I don't know if you've seen that. That was a hell of a body shot. But with mixed martial arts, I guess, or MMA, on the floor, you don't get hurt as much in the head. So I guess with concussions and they link it, there's the same in football where they link it to dementia and stuff. MMA will have less problems with that than boxing. So in a sense, they're not targeting the head as much, so it's less dangerous. But at the same time, you're more likely to break your arm. You're more likely to rip your knee apart. You're more likely to break your leg or break your neck. Something like that. It doesn't happen. You don't see people get broken bones or broken necks ever, really. But yeah, so I think in that sense, it's in long term, it's probably more dangerous boxing. But I think in the fight, it's more dangerous if you're in MMA.
You can't call it, if it's less dangerous, which I think it is, you can't call it hooliganism.
No, yeah. It's not thugs beating each other up.
No.
Which is what he said. Which is basically what he said. Oh, it's two thugs basically mauling each other. It is a street fighting aspect to it, but it's not like, say, me and you, Lewis, meet up in Birmingham for a scrap in the street. It's not like that.
I'm paid to see that.
To be fair, I've got a blue belt in judo, so yeah.
I can duck and weave well, so.
How about Lewis?
I'm the Khabib, you're the McGregor.
Jeez. I'd win then.
Nah, I don't.
Let's get it set up. Let's get it set up.
Put it on pay-per-view.
Yeah, go stream it on Blackboard.
Would you pay for that, Matt?
Yeah, would you pay for that one, Matt?
Oh, yeah.
That could be what your £50 goes towards if United.
That's it, yeah. That's what I'll fund. Yeah.
That'll be my wage bill.
He's not winning the league, so it's fine.
Yeah, that please don't win the league. Anyway, the final thing I want to really talk about in respects to MMA, there's a couple of things. We've got the lightweight division, I guess, in the whole, but this ties in with that is Khabib's situation. What do you think Khabib will do? What do you want him to do? And as a division, how much change could there be based on his decision?
He's a big family man, and I don't think you won't take that away from him. And his religion and his relationship with his mum comes before anything else. I feel it's very uncomfortable seeing like Dana White pushing into coming back. I don't think it's right, and I don't think he'll come back. And the fact that they haven't stripped him of the title already, it leaves the whole division in a bit of a lingo, which is why I think they should have crowned Poirier undisputed.
The problem with the whole them not taking the title off him because they want him to fight again. The problem is Khabib's not going. No. He's not actually putting his foot down and go take my title off me. I'm not saying it's his fault, especially after the loss of his father, which was devastating towards him. And now his mother doesn't want him to fight again because obviously his mother's scared of losing another person in the family. You would never want that. And now he's got his cousin fighting there, and he's got loads of people around him that will fight, and he'll still be heavily involved in UFC, which is I think what we all want. But I just don't think he'll fight anymore, especially after. I thought there was a glimmer if Conor spectacularly knocks Poirier out. There was a glimmer that that Khabib would come back, but now Poirier won in the second round. McGregor looked good in the first round, but nothing to bring Khabib back. I don't think he's ever going to come back now. I think that's him done. And why would he want to lose his record, I guess?
Yeah.
He seemed pretty content on coaching as well in that interview.
Yeah.
With his cousin. He seemed looking forward to that. So
he would be a brilliant coach. Yeah, like imagine having him as your wrestling coach or grappling coach. It's scary.
You need to get a striking coaching, but if you want to be champion. But I don't think there's a fight big enough in the division to bring him back for 30. So tired.
Yeah.
Going to coaching. It'd be good if he would come here, wouldn't it? That'd be an interesting duo.
Imagine. But I just think he needs to relinquish the belt now, and the lightweight division needs to move on. And I just saw in the chat. So everybody, Matt Wiley's just put something in the chat about Khabib wrestling a bear. And yes, it's true, Matt. He wrestled a bear. There's videos of him wrestling.
Look, he's slowly getting a bit more interested.
You are getting interested, aren't you, Matt? So if Khabib
that
fought
was the other
McGregor,
day,
you'd
but,
watch it. Would you watch it?
You can watch,
Definitely.
Huh?
you can watch it.
What, him fighting a bear?
Yeah.
There's definitely videos on YouTube of Khabib
Yeah,
wrestling.
it's on
Yeah,
YouTube.
there's clips on
Yeah.
YouTube.
But you can't watch a bear fight Khabib in the octagon. No.
No,
That's not on UFC 258.
no,
So-
that's not
It's
mainstream.
co-main with Usman versus Gilbert Burns. But no, I think Khabib, he needs to relinquish the belt now. Poirier I think he needs to win the title against somebody else. They can't just give him it now, I don't think. I still think he needs to. Sounds bad because it should have won it from fighting McGregor, but he can't just be giving it in between two fights. I think he needs to win the next one. Maybe him versus Gaethje. Gaethje was the last to fight Khabib. Poirier, Gaethje for the title. Number 2. That was a good fight.
That'd be fireworks. That'd be good. Although Gaethje is much better leg kicks than Poirier, so you better learn how to check him because
Yeah,
you're into some trouble.
I
I
think.
swear every UFC fighter's been 32. I've just looked at 4 UFC fighters and they're all 32. What's that about?
It's because really, if you think about it, the main guys are still fighting from a few years ago. There's not been recently many emerging in the last few years. There's not in the lightweight division. Yes, you've got a few, but they're all quite old. And Michael Chandler's come in after 10 years of fighting in other organizations. It's not like there's any young fighters in the lightweight division. John Jones is still going, but he's moving divisions. Adesanya is quite young. But yeah, I think there is a new generation coming through, but there's still the old dogs are still there and they're still scrapping.
Do you know much about Chimaev?
Yeah, the guy that's going to fight Edwards.
Yeah,
That was a good fight.
I know.
Who's winning that?
I hope Edwards is a fellow.
Yeah, I hope Edwards as well. But Edwards hasn't
you know.
fought.
My namesake.
Yeah. Oh, Nathan. Yeah, your brother. You look very
Yeah.
similar, to be fair.
What's his name?
Leon Edwards.
Leon.
I can see that ginger hair on Leon. Suit him.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, but no, Leon Edwards, he hasn't fought for ages, so I don't know if he will. But Chimaev
No.
hasn't fought for a while.
I
But a
can't
lot
recall,
more recently.
I can't recall a fight where Edwards has been taken down and Chimaev's wrestling looks good in his first 2 fights. So it'll be interesting to see if he can control it as well as he does. So
Yeah, it'd be very interesting. So I think now we need to move on to more of Nathan and Matt's expertise. Spoke a lot about MMA. Hopefully everyone enjoyed that. But Nathan, you called it last week. You got one extra game. You got one extra game. You've ended up playing Luton Town, but unfortunately, Fat Frank has gone. So what's your thought?
Yeah, just everything I said last week, to be honest. I just want to know what you lot think from the outside. Like, it's always happening, but I think you can't judge the ball because it always works, isn't it? Like, there's never been a failure from it. So.
The merry-go-round of managers has always worked for Chelsea football.
I just want to know where Lampard goes next. I think that's the more interesting thing.
I don't have a clue. I don't have a clue. I made my opinion clear last week. I think he was silly taking on the job that early. I think if he took the job on in a couple of years, he probably would have done quite well. But I think it was too big of him. But he shouldn't have been sacked.
No.
Very harsh, especially after he'd beaten Luton Town. It was a very weird time because they're playing
the
Wolves.
timing was awful.
They're playing Wolves tomorrow. So it was very
Tomorrow,
weird.
yeah. Yeah.
But I do think the job was too big for him at this moment in time.
I just think it was unfair. Like, that was his first bad stint, really. Like, I can't think from last season he had that bad. Like look at Ollie and Arteta, they're doing all right now. So
yeah,
I just think maybe we can stuff through.
He shouldn't have been sacked. And Ollie's proven, if you give him a few chances, maybe Lampard would have done well with those players. But at the same time, they didn't have much of when the last few games, they don't have a true identity of the way they're.
No, it was a bit bleak.
I
think they were just goofing the ball.
Can you really see the philosophy there?
No, I'm looking forward to Tuchel, to be fair. I think he'll be good. Like, him getting Havertz, he'll be the new, I don't know, like Ronaldinho or something. I don't know why I said Ronaldinho.
I don't get why everyone's saying, oh, because Tuchel's German, he'll be able to help German players. I guess he'll speak.
They both speak English. They both speak English pretty well.
Yeah, but how does that make a difference? I don't know. Somebody's nationality doesn't mean that they can ultimately make somebody a better player than somebody of a different nationality. I think that's rubbish.
But he's worked with Pulisic and Thiago Silva before, so hopefully he can get Pulisic back to his best. And apparently the players just weren't very happy after they called him out, or after Lampard called him out. So maybe he's gone. He's a bit like Mourinho in that case.
But there was a thing where it's like he's the only ever person to have a statement that's wished him well for the future.
Oh yeah, so that
thanked him for his services, and had I can't remember. There was one other point, but he's the first person in the statements had 3 certain things that Chelsea have never done.
I think he could come back to manage Chelsea in the future. I don't think that could happen.
I think he could manage a team like not Sheffield United, but somebody like if Fulham.
I was thinking Villa for some reason. I don't know why Villa, but Dean Smith's doing well. But I can see him at Villa.
Yeah, well, what do you think of that, Lewis?
We love Dino, so we're happy with it. Lewis Smith made a good point on Twitter, and as you said about the timing, Dean Smith and Ole,
I think I saw you like this
season, they wanted him out, so should have gave him a chance. I think. I don't think they should.
What do you think?
I do think Ole.
What do I think? Miles too soon. What you were saying. About giving him time, about Dean Smith, and about Ole, you've got to give him time. I know it's a result-driven business, and I know the game to come at you thick and fast. But he was developing. You know, they'd come off a transfer ban. It developed youth. You know, you look at Gilmore, Mount. I mean, you couldn't never not look at Mount because he was playing him so much. But
all the memes
let them gel. There's so many new signings. I think it almost certainly is going to be Thomas Tuchel, isn't it? If he comes in and they start doing well, it's got to be a bitter pill for Lampard to swallow if those players start doing well and people credit it to Tuchel. Because if you give Lampard a bit longer, they wouldn't have done the same, and I think they probably will do the same.
But Havertz was not very good. Like, you watched him and he was shocking. Werner couldn't hit a barn door.
We know the talent's there because the talent convinced Chelsea to spend 70 million quid on him, 50 million quid on Timo Werner. It's obviously there. It just needs bringing to the surface, but it just needs to gel into this new team that he's in.
But I don't know if Lampard could have done that, to be honest. Obviously, it's different with the youth. Like, he just had he had that experience. He never had the experience Havertz or Werner had when they were players, when he was a player. Trying to come through as a youngster. He had that experience, not a 50 million signing.
You know, you don't agree with what I said about that he got it too soon and he was too young, more experience. I found a quote, it was on Twitter, from Lampard when Villas-Boas was sacked, saying maybe he was too young, maybe he didn't have enough experience for a big club like Chelsea. And I think that does fit Lampard very well.
I just think if you're Lampard and Chelsea come, you can't say no. You don't know what's happening the next season with Derby. He could not get in the playoffs, and then that could never come again. So I don't know. I think he should have taken it, and
he could come back. Now he's been sacked. Where does he go from here, though?
Barnsley.
Barnsley.
Which note sprung to my mind as well. You mentioned
Barnsley job in for it's not up. Valerian Ismail is doing brilliant.
Oh, Barnsley man, the Barnsley boys getting annoyed, Nathan. How can you disrespect his club like that? Frank Lampard's not
Sheffield Wednesday
near big enough to manage Barnsley.
I've got an idea actually. Swap out Lampard in.
Direct line to striker. Collie Woodrow.
If I hit another Klopp out, I'm literally going to hit a brick wall with my head. The amount of people that are saying Klopp out are so disillusioned. But with Lampard, Sheffield United, they're not going to get rid of Wilder, but he would be a decent fit for it. But it's like, what other club is there really? Would he have to drop
maybe? I don't know.
Championship? Could he go abroad? Could he manage someone like Schalke and try and get them out?
Abroad. Yeah, go abroad. I see him going abroad.
Don't go Spain. Maybe go to America. Do what Phil Neville did.
Or if if Nagelsmann leaves RB Leipzig eventually, does he go to Leipzig?
That was meant to happen apparently, or something like that. Apparently Ralph Rangnick was meant to come in, but he said no. and like Chelsea were going to get Tuchel or Nagelsmann. Those were the two
They
options.
should have waited till the end of the season and tried to get Nagelsmann, and then Lampard could have gone the other way, like a swap deal of managers. But I don't know how that would have gone down. How that could have gone down. But
I don't think.
I don't think Lampard's a bad manager though. I think he's good. I think you could tell he was good from last season.
What, Lampard?
I just think, I don't think he's a bad manager.
I don't think he's bad, but
I just think
I don't think he's Chelsea level.
No, I think his style, like calling out players in like press meetings, is never the way forward now.
Start to lose the team. I think Mason Mount looked like he was the only one really playing with any form at the end.
Well, yeah.
That's because it's just his hero. So, no, I think it's a
Get
tricky
Kepper in.
situation, but Chelsea will come back strong. At least it wasn't Avram Grant they went
We'll
for.
probably win. Oh, Jesus, you never know. Gus Hiddink.
The guy that looks like death. Avram Grant with the bags under his eyes. After I watched that UFC fight, pardon?
He was never happy. Always, even when his team winning 4-0, he had a based on touchline, faced like thunder.
I looked like him after I watched until 6 a.m. the UFC on Sunday morning. I had those bags under my eyes. I was Avram Grant Mark II. But Chelsea will be fine. That's the problem. If Liverpool sack Klopp, they're screwed.
We'll probably win the league next year, won't we? Or something like that.
I don't think he'll win the league. Who knows? I actually don't know. The league, it's so you could technically sound stupid, but if you put a run together, you'll be back in contention in a few weeks. It's that time.
So everyone loses like 5 games in a row, then wins, and someone's like Sheffield United will probably win it or something stupid like that.
I just want Liverpool to get to safety. No, I'm joking. If any Liverpool fans get annoyed at that, I was joking.
It's looking quite bad for you in recent times.
It's not great, but I think the Man United game, although we lost, and I got classic. Every game Liverpool lose, I get 20 messages from people giving me abuse. It's just classic. Liverpool, when they lost to United, the only reason, like I said earlier, I was annoyed was because it was United, but I think there's plenty of positives to take out of. The problem I had before, when we were not scoring, the Burnley performance, the Burnley performance, the first half wasn't that bad. I'm talking the other ones, the Man United and all these other games. We didn't show that much to be proud about, you know? We weren't showing that much fight. We weren't pressurizing people. We weren't having the Bobby Firmino touch was gone. Salah wasn't driving at players. Mane was stopping the ball dead every time he got forward. But against United, the free-flowing football seemed to return a bit. Bobby's touches were back. And once he was back, Salah came into the game more. And I think Jones and Milner were part of the reason the cohesion looked so good against United. Shouldn't have conceded those silly goals. All 3 goals were silly. All 3 of them. But there's positives. Liverpool can take from that and then go to Tottenham with Matip at the back. A bit more structure. Maybe Hendo in the midfield with... I'd like to see Henderson, Thiago, Jones, or Henderson, Thiago, Milner, or even Jones on the left-hand side, or like the diamond we did the other day. That worked. I'd like to see that because I think it worked and we could go to Tottenham and win. I'm more confident about us going to Tottenham and winning now than I was before watching us lose to United. I think people...
I would agree, yeah. Here's something, I don't know if this is potentially a bit controversial, but here's something. Thiago, the deep line midfielder, diamond, you're right. Thiago in the central defensive position, then we have Jones and Henderson just in front of him and allow Thiago to dictate the play from further back. What do you think?
He does have the legs to cover, I don't think, though.
Yeah, he's not got the legs at the moment. If you looked at him at the end of that United game, he was dead on his feet, knackered.
It was flagging, but I don't know.
I think I'm getting annoyed at people. People are having a pinpointing Thiago as our problem and saying he's the one that's too slow, when I don't think that is. There was a moment yesterday where he just did a shimmy and dribbled past 2 players and fed through, who was it? I can't even remember. Firmino or Salah or something. It was amazing. And he has those little bursts. He's just not matched fully into the matches yet. And we were having the...
He's like clearly the best, like one of the best players on the pitch. Like, he's so good to watch.
And people are saying he's not fitting the system and everything. I think it will come. When you've got someone like Fabinho in the centre defensive midfield with him, he'll be miles better. He honestly will. I think people need to just be patient and they're expecting him to light everything. I was one of them. I was like, we're gonna win now because he's in the team. And I shouldn't have thought like that. It doesn't work like that. Football isn't like that. But people pinpointing him for our problems are completely wrong. I think
I want to underline as well, Liverpool are not in a crisis.
Yeah.
If honestly, if after your crisis, and I'm going to put that in inverted commas, you're fourth in the Premier League, I think that's a pretty good crisis, to be honest.
Especially a crisis when you're missing arguably the best centre-back in the world.
The best centre-back in the world.
One of the best centre-backs in England. Henderson, Fabinho's playing in centre defence. Arguably one of the best CDMs in the world. So if that's happening,
and Trent's
people are forgetting that. And Trent, the system is different now. There's no Van Dijk and Gomez, and people are going, but you're defending well. I was speaking to my mate yesterday, and he was like, but you're defending well. But I don't think that's the point. We're missing so much with Fabinho being in centre defence, Henderson not there. It's the midfield is losing out because we're having to put him in defence. And Trent is going forward. I think recently he's been a bit timid to do it, but yesterday he did. And that it wasn't his fault we got caught out for the goals. It was good that he was going forward. And he's one of the reasons we scored our first goal. And people would think, oh, but you went through the middle. But he was so wide and people were wary of them too, that we went through the middle when we had the space, which we haven't had in recent weeks. And he isn't that. The problem is Van Dijk and Gomez are so quick. They can cover the whole half of that. Sorry. That whole half.
They can play the highlight and they can get back in time as well.
Yeah, it's just a different beast. And then you got Fabinho sweeping in front with Henderson as a workhorse. When you lose so much from putting Fabinho in defence because he's not doing that work. Fabinho would have been there and it would have made a massive difference. And so Van Dijk, if no offence to Reece Williams, if that ball goes to Van Dijk leading to the second goal, Van Dijk clears that.
Yes, he does.
It's just unlucky of him though. He got chucked into the deep end right at the start of the season.
I'm not targeting him at all. I think people that target him are stupid. Like they targeted Neco Williams, they target everyone. It's the Twitter trolls. They always do it. And people need to remember he's young and he's been thrown into the Premier League champions team against Manchester United. So he showed why we need a centre-back, Reece Williams, yesterday. He made a few mistakes that if Van Dijk was there, he wouldn't have made. And if Fabinho was in the midfield, maybe some of the situations wouldn't have developed. So I think people need to remember, and Jota, Mane's struggling at the moment. If Jota's in the team, we don't look as bad because Mane's having a blip. He's not had his best season. Jota was filling that void when Mane was struggling earlier on. Jota's not there. It's more evident because who do you play instead of Mane? Because no offense to Origi, but he's not exactly lighting the world alight. Shaqiri's playing better in midfield. I don't know what Minamino's doing in training to not even get a look in at any of these fixtures over Origi. But it's hard because you want to play Mane, but he's struggling so much with football at the moment. I don't know what's going on. But he will come back. Like Salah and Firmino proved yesterday, they've come back a bit. They played well. I mean, that, like they said on commentary, that chip wasn't somebody that's been out of form. Didn't look like somebody that weak foot chipped them, a goalie, and you've been out of form apparently. He scored 19 goals this season, Salah. So I think you're right. Crisis is the wrong word. Big blip. We are in a big blip. And maybe in the next few games, if we start to struggle and it gets worse, they're low on confidence. You could see that before the first goal. We were just low on confidence. And that confidence will come back. We'll start winning games. We might not win the league. We might come fourth. We might come third. We might not win. We're not going to win the FA Cup now. And I predicted us to win it a few weeks back. Well, you predicted Villa.
My call is still in. My second call after I made a bit of a boo-boo.
But yeah, I just think Liverpool will be back. And I'm more confident after watching last night. I was having, after Burnley, I struggled. I was like, where are we going from here? But yesterday has proved to me, Harry,
you told me to play Warzone with you.
Yeah, I literally, I got 30 messages off people have taken the piss out of me. And I get that. I get banter. I'm one of those people. But I never message somebody directly to take the mick out of their team. I rarely do. I might have done it once with you, Nathan.
I do. It's funny.
I don't think I was. Yeah, but I never message anyone. I was getting loads of people. I don't want to sound like a whinger or a moaner. or a wet wipe. That's not what I mean. I don't care if people message me. And that night I was so fuming, there was no way I was going to answer or text anybody other than my close friends I could play Warzone or FIFA with to get it off my mind. Ben Lear, if you're watching.
I don't want to play FIFA with you ever again.
Huh?
Don't want to play FIFA again.
Why don't you want to play FIFA with me ever again?
After last time, I think lost like 8-2.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, but I admit...
It keeps on happening.
You've beaten me like that once. Come on.
Yeah, that's
have
true,
some
yeah.
confidence. No.
Did you say you played Ben Lear?
No, I haven't. I said I bet Ben Lear had the best night of his life that night. But old boys, we're part of the pro clubs. Matt, you need to join our pro clubs with Simo in the midfield. I know, Lewis, if you've watched other podcasts, we mentioned Simo, your character. I know you've been playing with your own character recently, but we need to play more at the pro clubs, lads, don't we?
When did Matt Winley-Sadler play?
In goal.
Do you agree that Matt looks like a young Matt Brindley Sadler?
Nightclub version.
Yeah, nightclub version. Danny Minogue version, Mark II.
Who's that? No, I was talking to her the other day at a bar and I didn't recognise her.
Yeah,
and definitely go for him.
I still love that. Nathan, if you could send that picture, we'll put it up on this podcast in the edit.
I don't know if I have it. I need to delete space out of my phone, so I don't know.
No, but yeah, pro clubs is a proper laugh. And I bet you if we played pro clubs that night, Liverpool lost to Burnley, I would have just been shredded a new one. It's probably good that we didn't. I'd say arguably that was worse than not worse, but the result to me, I felt worse after that game than I did when we lost 7-2 to Villa. What did you think after that game? What were you like during the game? When you beat us 7-2, what were your feelings? Obviously they were good, but
it's 1-9, I presume.
It's all a bit of a blur. I was sitting in the living room and I just thought, I'll tell you what I did. I turned into my mum and I was like, Mum, it's 5, it's 6, it's 7. I just didn't know what was happening. Yeah, it's pretty good though. So just a bit of a blur, man.
I really deserved it. I would have.
Yeah, I think, and I honestly, I don't know what happened to us that day. I had coronavirus when that happened, so that was one of the worst days of my 2020. How mad was it that Liverpool came back from that? And we were, until recently, we still are in the title race, but we were top at one point after beating Palace 7-0. We looked the favourites after losing 7-2 to Villa. So I think if we're talking crisis, that proves, that result, losing to Villa 7-2 and coming back from that proves Liverpool can come back from this blip. Am I right? Or what do you think?
Yes, I would agree.
Lewis?
Yeah. Is Klopp not at fault for anything, though? That's what I wonder. From your point of view.
Well, obviously, he's got to take some of the blame for the performances and the system and maybe the fact that people understand how Liverpool are playing now. And maybe we need a switch up, which he did against United, and it worked for a while. So I think he's obviously got to take some blame, but the people that are saying he should leave or that he's rubbish, it's just stupid. I think most of our problem at the moment is that FSG aren't backing him at the moment. They have backed him in the past. So people that are saying FSG out, Fenway Sports Group, if people don't know who that is, that's Liverpool's owners. People are saying them out or get out our club, not investing. They've invested a lot of money into Liverpool and have been one of the reasons we are where we are and why we're in the privileged position we have been in the last few years. But they do need to back him now as well. When we're in a bit of a struggle, we need a centre-back. I can't stress that enough. We need a centre-back. They do need to back him now. And you do have to wonder, in the next few years, the rumour is we've been saving the pot for someone big in the summer. But if nobody comes big in the summer, money-wise, do Liverpool will they look to sell? Will the owners look to sell because they're struggling for money?
The owners normally like to sell someone before they buy someone, don't they? Like with Van Dijk and Alisson, they sold Coutinho.
Yeah, I think there's a few dead weights that Liverpool can sell in the squad. I've noticed there's a few people, I'm not going to name names, but there is a few players that could go for a decent sum. I mean, Michael Edwards sold Solanke for 20 million, so he can sell anybody.
Ian Brewster for 25.
What happens?
That's unbelievable.
That is unbelievable. And he sold Jordan Ibe for 15 million.
Yeah, he did. Yeah.
And
He
it's
convinced Bournemouth to pay 35 million quid for 2 players that are barely worth 5 combined.
this is no disrespect to these players, but honestly, Ings has ended up being an amazing buy for Southampton. It's been incredible the last 2 seasons, but he sold him off the back of 3 games in the season for 20 mil. That's insane. I'm sorry.
I think it was easier. Ings was easier just because of his past. Whereas for flipping Dom Solanke, he was shocking. He couldn't control a football or anything, and you got 20 mil whatever it was.
I reckon he could sell Origi for 25 mil.
Just off that Barca goal alone.
It's just off the I've seen a lot of hate for Origi online, and I hate that because obviously I'm someone that thinks Origi, unfortunately, his time at Liverpool is up, but he's a cult hero. He's done so much for us. Like people
He's a street forget player.
Remember that. And some people he wasn't asked when he missed that chance against Burnley, but he wasn't asked when he scored a goal in the Champions League final. So that's his character. I think people need to take Liverpool fans jump on somebody so quickly. I'm somebody that does jump on the team. Don't get me wrong. I never do it on Twitter. I never do it vocally, like on any social media platform. I never make a scene about it. But in my head sometimes, or in the house when nobody's watching, I get angry. Of course I do, like every fan does. But I think Liverpool fans, and a lot of other fans for that matter, jump on the team like that. They pick out players. They blame people. It's not just Liverpool fans. So if Liverpool fans are watching, I'm not saying the whole fan base is like this. Because I get offended when people always say Liverpool fans are rubbish. They're horrible. And I hate that as well because we're not. A lot of us are great people. Most of us are. We're a great fan base. And I love Liverpool to the core and the fans. But there are some fans, a small group on Twitter that are toxic. Every fan base has them. But I've obviously always seen the Liverpool ones because I'm on part of Liverpool Twitter. And after some of the results recently, I've had my opinions, but some of these are just ludicrous. The fact that Klopp out's trending every game we draw or lose is just so annoying.
Yeah.
I think at the end of the day, it's just Twitter that helped make a crisis. Like, there's never really a crisis of football. It's just normally, unless it's like Bury or something, like just losing a couple of matches, it doesn't really matter, does it? Like, look at Arsenal, they're doing all right now. The only reason they were near the relegation zone was because it was at the start of the season. It will work out.
I want to finish briefly with the NFL. So we spoke about NFL in previous episodes. A lot's going on. I also want to close off this book about Liverpool because it's making me sad. But no, so the NFL, 2 massive games yesterday. Tom Brady's through to the Super Bowl for the 10th time in his career. First for the Buccaneers, so first for a team other than Patriots. Tampa Bay Buccaneers, the first team, did you say, to play at home in a Super Bowl final as well? So there's
18 years.
And then Kansas City Chiefs. I got it right this time, not Kaiser Chiefs, Kansas City. They're through, second year running, won it last year, came back against a strong Buffalo Bills side from the first quarter. They looked good. I didn't watch it fully, but I followed the game. How's it going to hot up in that final?
How's it going to go? Well, it's in the pack. I predicted that the Packers would beat the Buccaneers. So, and then against the Packers, I said that the Chiefs will win. I'm far less confident now in saying that the Chiefs will win against the Buccaneers because it's so foolish.
Tom Brady.
To say anyone to back anyone against Tom Brady. Yeah. That said, the Bucs have got the very. I mean, obviously, any team that uses Tom Brady that got Tom Brady in it is very, very pass centric. They throw the ball a lot, and the Kansas City backfield, and in particular, I think Tyrann Mathieu, I think that's how you say it. The safety, he's good at intercepting the ball, so that's the risk. That's the risk that you take when you pass a lot. And the fact that Tampa Bay's the best running back is Leonard Fournette. No disrespect to Leonard Fournette, but you look at the Kansas City running game and you look at what they can do in terms of varying the play. Bucs defense a bit leakier than the Chiefs defense. Honestly, slate me if I'm wrong, but I'm still sticking with the Chiefs to win it.
Yeah, same.
I don't know much about NFL,
I-
so I can't really predict a winner. But I have watched the Patriots a lot because I don't want to be one of these little fanboys. Oh, you're picking the best team. My auntie's from Maine, which isn't too far from New England. So, watching Brady for the Patriots, and when even I know these people, Bucks now have superstars like the controversial Antonio Brown, Rob Gronkowski, and Tom Brady. Even though they're old, they do have the star power to win it, though. Surely.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, you look at Antonio Brown, the wide receivers core in the Buccaneers is, yeah, obviously, they are one of the best teams in the league. They've proved that they're one of the two best teams in the league right now. But those three wide receivers, they've got Mike Evans, they've got Chris Godwin, and they've got Antonio Brown. If there's a better top three wide receivers in the league, I mean, plenty of teams have got two brilliant ones. The Chiefs have got two brilliant ones in Nico Hardman and Tyreek Hill. Maybe Sammy Watkins if you throw him in. But I think I'd be struggling to name a team that's got three wide receivers of those quality. I mean, everybody's got a brilliant one. Most have got a brilliant one. A select few have got two brilliant ones, but three is really quite impressive. Obviously, that's why they've brought Brady, and that's why they're so good at passing the ball. But they might just have to change it up a little bit when you come up against somebody like Mathieu in the backfield, who can intercept and who can force fumble. They call him the honey badger because he just doesn't give up. He latches on and he just doesn't give up.
That reminds me, honey badger. All I think of when I hear that is Daniel Ricciardo from F1.
Yeah,
the honey badger.
Yeah, there you go. Then he'll do the shoey when Kansas City win.
But yeah, I think I don't know much about NFL. I want the Bucks to win, the Buccaneers.
I don't.
Kansas won it last year, and
Yeah, but Tom Brady, it's unfair.
but Tampa Bay haven't won it since 2002, so it's a new, or 2003 the Super Bowl was, but the 2002 season, as Matt rightly
18 years since.
But I think it would be cool, wouldn't it? Brady comes back, 43 years old, and steers a team to win the Super Bowl.
And it would be very impressive. It's obviously his influence is unquestionable because of what you look at the Bucks. I mean, we went to see the Bucks. Me and a friend and my dad went to see the Bucks in London at Tottenham's new stadium. Absolutely brilliant, by the way. It really is as good as everyone says it is. And they were, I mean, they lost to the Carolina Panthers, and they were very, very average. The quarterback they had, Jameis Winston, he's now at the New Orleans Saints. He was throwing touchdowns, but he was throwing interceptions as well. And that's just that step up. I mean, it's a massive step up. Obviously, Jameis Winston isn't even the starter. They've gone from a not even starter to the best of all time, or the greatest of all time, I think is the term.
The GOAT.
The GOAT. And obviously his influence on the team has been unquestionable. But I just think, I don't know if I want Mahomes to win. I think Mahomes comes across very, very well.
Yeah, he does, yeah.
I really like him from what I've seen of him. And I just think, Brady, I know sport is all about staying hungry and wanting to continue winning, but Brady's won 6. I want to see Mahomes establish this dynasty. Brady's, it's good that he is still at this level, but I want to see Mahomes push forward and become the new role model, the new one that everybody should aspire to.
It reminds me of Mbappe for some reason. I don't know why.
Mbappe.
Or I do know why. Yeah, I don't know why. Like, I don't know.
I
think of Mbappe.
Earlier, I heard that Tom Brady's a Trump supporter, so it did put me off him a bit. Obviously, I don't want to bring politics into this podcast. But Tom Brady, 43 years old, he has won it all, but his story from how nobody wanted him when he was being drafted, even at college level, university level over there.
Well, he's the biggest steal. He's the biggest steal in the history of the draft.
Yeah.
He didn't go till Saturday, till the 6th round of the draft. I think he was picked the overall pick number 199. No,
yeah.
The 32. There weren't even 32. 31 teams at that point. He drafted in 2000. 31 teams thought that there were 198 players that were better than him, and now look at him.
He's the best.
I mean, that is the biggest bargain you could ever make, isn't it? And I'm including James Milner in that for a free.
Or Matip. Actually, no,
Or
Milner.
Matip.
Milner
Yeah, it's the biggest bargain you can possibly make, and it is really good because obviously we don't have anything like a draft system over here. It's a bit alien to us. I mean, draft night is a lot of fun. I watched it this year. I watched the first round this year. It's a draft night. It really is a lot of fun. So maybe it's a bit alien to us because we don't have it over here. But that decision that you make as a general manager of a team to pick a player here or pick a player there, it can make or break your career, their career, and your season, your dynasty. You know, for example, I was reading an article the other day about how Kansas City, the absolute subterfuge that they had to go through to get Patrick Mahomes. And Patrick Mahomes went 10th in the 2017 draft. Kansas City, I think, were picking 25th. Because obviously the worst team, the team with the worst record picks first all the way down, but you're allowed to trade, so it all becomes a bit topsy-turvy. And they had to trade up from 25th. I think they traded with the Buffalo Bills to get that 10th overall pick. But because Mahomes was so highly rated, they had to go in the media and big up another player to cover the tracks to say, it's not actually Mahomes we're after. We are trading up to the top 10. We're not denying that. But it's this guy that we want. And the absolute, I said it, subterfuge, the levels of MI6, secret intelligence.
The shithousery.
Yeah.
Bleep that.
Well, yeah, that. Exactly. It's not even that. It's just it's military grade levels of secret intelligence to get that pick and get that player, and it's just insane because, of course, the one thing in NFL is that, you know, what you've got in football is that there's 4 trophies, you know, 4 teams can be successful. Even if you don't win a trophy, it can be considered a successful season. In NFL, it's win the Super Bowl or nothing.
Yeah, I think
and only one of them wins.
I want to wrap up soon, but we were talking earlier. Obviously, Matt, you are somebody that loves. We were doing sports culture earlier. You love American sports.
I do.
I'm personally not the biggest fan, other than MMA, which isn't really just an American sport. I mean, it's a worldwide thing, really. But the big companies are in America, so that is true. Other than that, I don't really enjoy American sports, but it is fascinating. Still, the Super Bowl draws me in every single year without fail. Doesn't matter who's in it. I don't particularly like watching American football. So since I've been 13 years old, I've watched the Super Bowl every single year.
Well, I'll make a deal with you then. I'll make a deal. I'll watch an MMA. I'll watch a UFC, full UFC, if you sit down and watch an NFL match with me.
That's not the Super Bowl.
Yeah, well, it could be the Super Bowl, but any game.
Oh, the Super Bowl's easy then. Yeah, I'll do that.
No, don't do Super Bowl then. Scrap
Okay.
that. Some crap team.
Not crap one. Not like Miami Dolphins or something.
Oh, thanks. Look at Nathan behind him.
Oh yeah, behind you.
I don't even like him. That's my problem.
No, I'll watch one as long as I don't have to sit through the whole 3 hours. At least the most that an MMA fight can go is 25 minutes. An NFL match lasts.
Yeah, but it is good.
3 hours.
It is good.
Yeah.
It is good.
I'll watch one, but as long as during the adverts and stuff, I can do things.
Well, do you know what?
No.
I've got to be
Locking you in a chair.
I'll watch. I'll probably get into it. I'm somebody that if I sit down and watch something long enough, I'll get into it. I love this. I'll stay up all morning. So I'll do it.
I just don't know how to watch it. Like, what channel is it on? Sky? I know it's on Sky. Is it all on Sky? All right.
Not
Channel 5 have got a little bit. Channel 5 have it on a Monday night.
So what?
I swear the Super Bowl a couple of years ago was on like E4 or something. Which
Super Bowl on BBC.
Yeah, it was on E4 as well, which is mad. I don't know. That was one of the worst things I've ever seen.
Go on, Harry, you got a question.
I got one final question before we wrap up. There's finals in every sport. There's tournaments in every sport. If you had to pick one final or one tournament to watch over the whole year of this year, you could only pick one. Which one do you want? Which final?
Oh, a specific year?
No, this year. Just in general,
but like,
what final would you
Oh.
pick to watch? You can only pick one. It can be the FA Cup, Champions League, Europa League, Super Bowl, or the MLB final, whatever it is in Major League Baseball final, the NBA playoff final, whatever. Which one was you?
MLS Cup.
MLS Cup. What about
Oh,
you?
you know, I'm just going to go with that, yeah.
What about you, Lewis?
The FA Cup.
The FA Cup.
Yeah.
I understand that.
It's a really prestigious tournament every single year.
Yesterday's game, we'd never get that game in the Prem. A 3-2 against Liverpool Man U. Again, we'd never get that.
Yeah. What about you?
I just love everything about it.
Yeah, the FA Cup is good.
I want to say the Super Bowl, but then I'd miss out on stuff like the Champions League final and the FA Cup final. So, I mean, I do love NFL, but football is
the ultimate.
The ultimate. So I'd probably agree with Lewis and say the FA Cup
cricket.
final.
None of you have said this, but I would go for the playoff final. Championship.
Oh, nah.
Championship. It's class.
Also a good show.
Full ground. The atmosphere is better than most other. It's probably better than the FA Cup final.
Because it works so
Like
much.
Man City Watford a couple of years ago. Like I'd rather watch Derby
Yeah,
and
but those
Aston
two are
Villa
two
sort it out.
crap teams. Like, not crap, like, support-wise.
Yeah, I just think that at the Championship playoff final, there's so much elation when you win. There's so much heartbreak when you lose. You win or lose so much in that one game. It's just a must watch for me. I watch it I never miss the playoff final.
Was the World Cup not an option in this?
It's just I enjoy the World Cup final, but it's never a must watch or a must.
I think the World Cup tournament's the best tournament. Like, as a whole tournament.
Without a
It's
doubt.
the best.
Like
Yeah.
when England,
It's just so fun.
In 2018, when England went on that run and I was in Iron Apple, I was having the time of my life. I loved the World Cup.
Yeah,
the heartbreak when England got knocked out to Croatia was a lot.
Oh yeah, have I told you this story? We were in me and a friend were doing interrailing that summer of the World Cup, and we were in Cologne's main station when Germany were losing to South Korea. I have never seen in my life, even the cops were watching it. The German police, you see the full uniform, and they were just stood, and there were big screens everywhere, and it was I've never seen a place so packed full of people and yet so quiet.
I fully bugged myself off.
The only time in my life that I've heard a football score, announced on the PA of a train. We'd got on a train and we were going to Belgium. We were going from Cologne to Brussels, and we got on the train, and we knew that Germany were losing 1-0, and they announced it on the train PA system that Germany had been knocked out of the World Cup.
2-0, yeah.
I fully mugged myself off. I flipping went to Mexico, and they played Germany in the semi-final group stage, and they beat them. Just brought a Germany shirt, and I packed it with me, and I was to go.
Wearing a Germany shirt.
I believe it.
Yeah.
Was that Irving Lozano, wasn't it?
Yes, it was.
Yeah.
They beat Sweden though, but they arguably should have lost that one as well. But I think, lads, we've done a good podcast today. I say it every week. I think we should wrap up there. Lots of topic matter. We went a bit over what I thought we were going to again, but it's all fun. We're just at the end of the day, we're 3-4 lads chatting every week, just chatting about sport, football, loads of different things, just like a Zoom call. So we're just enjoying ourselves, and I think we did a good job today. So I'd like to end it there. I've got no shout outs. So I've got no shout outs this week, but I'd just like to finally say a thank you to Lewis for coming on. You're welcome to come on anytime in the future. Maybe you're the 4th member of the Great Character podcast. So it was great having you on.
Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, thank you, mate.
Cheers.
Thank you very much. And thank you for everyone for watching and the support we've had so far. So we'll see you soon, guys.
We'll see you later on. All right. Thanks, guys.